Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. All right, we've got about 2 minutes to go until we get started. So as you're coming into the webinar, can you put in the chat two things for me? One, where did you hear about this event? And two, are you a health and wellness professional? One of the, just you are or you aren't. It doesn't matter. Just tell me if you are or you aren't, and where did you find out about the webinar? So I will get started in just a moment. I want to do some tech checking here. And okay, great. Can somebody give me a yes, we hear you, and audio and video are good. And then I'm going to go ahead and get my screen sharing started. Hello to all the familiar names and hello to all the new people. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. So I'm excited about today's topic for many reasons, and I'll get into it. I'll get my slide deck pulled up in a moment. But I just want to start by saying this. There is no more important time than this moment right now, today, to start taking back your power when it comes to your health and wellness and your medical freedom. We are going to be seeing changes as we move forward through 2021 and beyond that we never anticipated seeing. So I think 2020 threw us all for a big loop, and we were hoping, here we are a year later, we were hoping that we would be back to normal, whatever that looks like, right? Whatever that normal was for any of us before. It's different for everyone. But what I can tell you is that being in the health and wellness space, I have seen people shutting down their practices. I have seen a lot of conventional medical doctors just quitting their jobs altogether, retiring. People are moving into telemedicine. Lots of physicians and doctors moving into the telehealth space that don't even know how to turn on a computer at this point because they've been forced in that direction. So whether people have found themselves in this situation of having to be online to do health and wellness care or not, wherever we find ourselves today, we all have to start bobbing and weaving and adapting. These are words that I've been using a lot. We all have to start making changes. And so I'm excited to bring this to you because there's so much that people don't know that they can do for their health without involving practitioners, physicians, doctors, or medicine of any kind. So when I get the slide deck pulled up, I'm going to do a little disclaimer for you guys, but I just want to encourage you to have an open mind when you're watching this presentation today. And I want you to think about where in your life you need to start taking back your own health and wellness and medical freedom. So I will get the check-in, and in the chat, please tell me again if you're a health and wellness professional and how you found out about this webinar. And then I'll get a check with you guys to make sure you can see my screen. And I'm actually going to turn my camera off because I don't like to, I'll turn it back on at the end, but I don't like to be distracted by my own self. So can you guys see my screen before I start the slide deck? If I get a yes in the chat, that will be great. Thank you, Tiffany. All right, here we go. Okay, I'm gonna hit play and we will get going. Hold on a moment. Okay, and please put your questions in the Q&A. It's down at the bottom of your screen. If you're new to Zoom, there's a toolbar at the bottom and it says Q&A. All your questions can go in there and I will address those at the end. So today we're talking about flexing your health and medical freedom muscle, straight talk about health and how to start taking your power back from the conventional medical system. Now, first things first, I talk really fast, always have been that way, but I'm also a truth teller and a straight talker. I don't like a lot of fluff when I'm sharing information that I feel is valuable and important, especially when I'm trying to help people again, take back their power. So first things first, we are doing a contest today. And if I have family members on here, hi, mom and dad, if you're listening, you don't get to participate in this one. I'm going to be saying a secret word throughout this webinar. Throughout this webinar, I will be repeating a word. I'm not going to tell you what that word is until the very end. I'm trying to keep you here. There's no secret. Whoever says or types the word first in the chat at the very end of this webinar, I'm going to tell you the word. The first person to type it in the chat wins a free health coaching session with me, 60-minute session. It's worth $350, you guys. And I will go deep, and I am I'm an investigative person. So one session with me would probably be worth several years of information you might get somewhere else. So at the end, again, I will tell you the secret words. You got to hang in there until we get to the end. Disclaimer, everything I share today is based on my own experience in over 10 years of working with clients and almost 7 years of mentoring entrepreneurs in the wellness profession. Take what resonates with you and leave the rest. It is your responsibility to use the information delivered in today's webinar in a way that feels best to you. This is in no way diagnostic or prescriptive advice and is only education for you to make better decisions for your health. So basically, to put this in layman's terms, I'm not your doctor, I'm not your social worker, I'm not your psychotherapist, I'm not your mama. I am depending on you to make good decisions for yourself based on what you know about you. So I am Carmen Hunter. I'm a certified health coach. I am a founder of the Institute for Functional Health Coaching, Carmen Hunter Health LLC, and Health Coach Mentorship and Mastery Group. If you are the general public, the certified health coach part is for you. If you are a health and wellness professional, the other pieces are for you. So I am everywhere in the health and wellness industry and in this space. I love every single bit of it. I am passionate about helping people to find their power in business as well as in health. And I would be remiss to not start with my own story, because, when people come into the health and wellness profession, it's always, well, I would say not always, most of the time it's from a journey of their own where they had to struggle through some significant health challenges, find their way out on the other side, and figure out how to be their own health advocate, which is what we're here to talk about today. So real quick, in 1996, around that time, I was working about a 70-hour job. I was smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. I was drinking until the sun came up and partying as much as I possibly could. I was not raised to live that kind of lifestyle. I was raised on a very holistic path. My mom was amazing at the foods that she fed us and the work that she did to create a healthy environment for us. But as any rebellion would do, I went off the deep end when I got out of high school, moved away to college, and decided that I was going to try all the bad things on for size, which led to me several years later moving back home and starting a normal life. Due to the stress, the debt, my physical health was struggling, lots of things going on there. So in 2000, after experiencing multiple problems from the time that I had moved home until 2000, I started with chronic pain, which was migrating throughout my entire body. And I could not figure out what it was. I mean, no matter what, I went to 21 doctors. It took about a decade, and I finally got a diagnosis. So when I talk about why I'm qualified to talk to you guys about how to take your power back, it's because I was extremely dependent on everyone outside of me telling me how to get my life back on track, trying to tell me what was wrong with me. I was dependent on everyone else but myself, and that led to me becoming more independent in my life. So in 2008 or 2009, around that time, I became a personal trainer kind of as a hobby, which morphed very quickly into health coaching, because when you spend 10 years chasing diagnoses and symptoms and problems, and you see 21 doctors of every known profession, orthopedics, rheumatologists, neurologists, all of those things, and you spend thousands and thousands of dollars trying to find out what was wrong, you pretty much become an expert in knowing how to unravel the mysteries of health and wellness problems, right? So then fast forward a little bit further there in 2013, 2014, I began educating health professionals all over the world. And in 2017, I opened up the Institute for Functional Health Coaching to teach coaches how to help the general public and help other people to take back their health. So as we move forward, this is the first training in a series. So I am going to be bringing education to you guys about how to get your power back and talking to you about real health issues throughout time as we move forward, and bringing experts to you as well. So as you're going to learn also, poor health does not happen overnight. I wasn't perfectly healthy, and then the next week I was chronically ill or in pain. It is a cumulative thing, and it can be happening long before symptoms occur. So this is one reason it's very imperative, you guys, to take charge of your health in a way that empowers you now. So what we're going to cover today: what is conventional medicine, otherwise sometimes known as allopathic medicine? What is functional medicine? Why trusting yourself is the most important thing that you can do? How programming started turning people against themselves? What you have been told about genetics, disease, etc., some myths about that. Who's behind this movement to keep you dependent and sick? Reactive versus proactive living, and why it's so important to take back your freedom, and how to start this process of taking back your power. So as you can imagine, I'm not going to be able to tell you how to do that in one day. I'm hoping that you're going to join me for these Wednesday events, because I'm going to be bringing a lot of valuable information your way. So let's start with this definition of conventional or allopathic medicine. So this is straight off of the dictionary here: a system in which medical doctors and other healthcare professionals, such as nurses, pharmacists, and therapists, treat symptoms and diseases using drugs, radiation, or surgery. Okay, that is conventional. That's the conventional medicine model. And I just want to say this: my own personal mantra here is that a diagnosis is just a symptom. And if we can find out where that symptom is coming from, we have the potential to reverse that diagnosis that we've been given by our doctor. Now, as a health coach, I avoid using words that take me out of profession, out of the scope of profession that I'm in. So I don't like to use the words diet, cure, repair, heal, all of those things. I leave that out to the medical world. But what I do like to I like to share is this: is that you have everything that you need already. You already have everything that you need to get well. And then what you don't have can be found through a series of investigations, right? So remember this, looking at this description here, they treat symptoms or diseases, right? But there is no looking for the actual cause of it. So that moves us into functional medicine. You can look this up and you can get a million different answers because everybody's got their own definition of what functional medicine is. So here's a little bit of a version of mine. Functional medicine is a mind-to-body approach to helping patients overcome disease by investigating the root cause of the symptoms and creating an approach to better health based on the least stressful way possible, emotionally, physically, and financially. So other terms for functional would be like holistic, natural, those types of things. And you're going to hear this word as well. One thing that you don't hear with the word conventional is conventional health. But what you will hear with the word functional is functional health, functional coaching, functional living, right? Because when you think about the two, they're very, very different. When we're talking about functional medicine and functional health, we're looking to get to the root of why someone got in the condition they're in the first place. When we're talking about conventional approaches, we're looking at how we can stick a Band-Aid on something just to get through the day of work, right? So how did we get to a place where medicine and pills are the gold standard for care and anything natural is called woo-woo, a hoax, a scam, pseudoscience, and so much more? Now, when I move into these slides, those of you that have known me out on social media lately are going to be like, oh, here she goes down some conspiracy theory thing. I'm not going there. That's not the place for this. But I do want to bring to your attention the facts. All right, who is this? This is John D. Rockefeller. Say hello to him. We can thank him for destroying, pretty much what is known as natural medicine and our belief in it. So here's the thing. I'm going to read this section from the newspunch.com site. So say hello to John D. Rockefeller. He was looking for ways to capitalize with his oil, and he comes across the idea of using coal tar, a petroleum derivative. Vaseline, anyone? That's my comment. To make substances that affect the human mind, body, and nervous system. These are called drugs, and they are excellent at masking or stopping symptoms, but overall do not cure the underlying cause of a disease. He went further and used his oil money to buy out part of the massive German pharmaceutical cartel IG Farben. And upon seeing the competition of natural medicine and healing modalities, hired Abraham Flexner to write a report. We've heard of the Flexner Report in 1910, which transformed the nature and process of medical education in America, with a resulting elimination of proprietary schools and the establishment of the biomedical model as gold standard of medical training. So basically, as seen on this slide, he destroyed competition to Western medicine. And the bitter truth is that when you go to your Western doctor, and this is the truth, you guys, you are seen as a potential market for the medical factory's products. For big pharma, there is no financial incentive to heal you because a patient cured is a customer lost. Hear that, because a patient cured is a customer lost. So even if you're not sick, big pharma is still targeting you, trying to convince you that you are so ill that you will try its latest pill. So in other words, natural medicine and anything that depended on nature for healing was called quackery, and the evolution of conventional medicine, pills, vaccines, and toxic radiation became the gold standard for treating disease and symptoms that they had no name for. So this report concluded that there were too many doctors in medical schools in America, and that all the natural healing modalities which had existed for hundreds or thousands of years were unscientific fakery. It called for the standardization of medical education, whereby only the allopathic or conventional based AMA, American Medical Association, would be allowed to grant medical school licenses in the United States. How sad is that, right? Sadly, Congress acted upon the conclusions and made them law. Incredibly, allopathy became the standard mainstream modality, even though its three main methods of treatment in the 1800s had been things such as bloodletting, surgery, and the injection of toxic heavy metals like lead and mercury to supposedly displace disease. Can you even imagine? It should be noted that hemp was also demonized and criminalized not long after this. Not because there's anything dangerous about it, but because it was a huge threat as medicine and fuel to the Rockefeller drug and oil industries. You can look this stuff up anywhere. I'll tell you this much though, if you go to Google, they're going to hide it from you. Okay. There's a lot of censorship going on today about natural and holistic health. So looking at these pictures right here, let's just take a quick look at programming for a second. We have a pretty lady sitting up by the television, the top TV, 1950s TV ads. And then right next to that, of course, we see a bomb going off, right? We have another testimonial from a Mrs. Donald Ryder. Lord, they couldn't even use her first name, which appealed to housewives. Not using her first name, but she's the Mrs. Donald P. Ryder. Encouraging the housewives to use Vaseline, petroleum, a smiling McDonald's box for the kids on TV, and toys at the fast food places. All right, so let's just get started with that. And then we take a look here. And then in comes these products that we create to help our brain troubles, our headaches, our seasickness, and our epilepsy, and to stay fit and slim. I'm sure there are some people on here that remember some of these ads, right? So this was just the very beginning of trying to program us and help us to move away from independence and into dependence on the products and the things that they're trying to sell to us, and take away our instincts and intuition. So let's start here. Grandma's grandma was right. Grandma's grandma was right. We had everything that we needed back then. If you ask anybody, back from, I would say, the 30s and 40s, and you ask them questions about health and wellness, more than likely you're going to get a lot of people that just shake their head at what's happening today. And one of my favorite things to tell people, before probiotics actually came in a pill, what we had back then was a garden that grandma would pull the carrot out of and literally wipe it on her apron and just eat it straight up. And in that soil that was on that carrot, we had so many beneficial bacteria that probiotics in an actual capsule would have been laughed at back then. But now our soil is contaminated and devoid of all of the minerals that we need. We no longer have that, which is why now people make millions of dollars on supplements. But we still have everything we need. We just need to get back to the basics, and we need to move away from all of the things that we've learned over time and that have been marketed to us as the answer, when in reality, those things are simply just Band-Aids. As a reminder, you guys, if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the Q&A for me. It could be about anything at all, health related, anything about me, anything you want to know. All right, so who benefits from keeping you sick and dependent on toxic food, conventional methods of care, and prescription medication? And I know that there are some coaches on here, and they know who it is, right? These are just a couple, and the number goes way, way, way beyond just these three examples right here. There's up to, I would say, a good 3,000, 3,500 people that are involved in all of the disruption that's going on and all of the deceit that's going on behind the scenes. But let's talk about how they do this, because it's really quite brilliant. I mean, so it's an amazing business model. Convince the people that they have a problem that won't go away, which instills fear in them. Then you create the solution to the problem, which creates dependency on their physician, prescriptions, and more. Again, then you're going to program them, and program them to believe that the only answer is the doctor, the pill, the prescription, or the Band-Aid for the symptom. I don't know the year exactly when they stopped teaching people to listen to their own instincts, to take a nap if they were feeling tired, to think about what they were putting in their mouth instead of taking a pill for indigestion, things like that. I don't know the year that started or when that began, but it's been pushed and marketed on us that we cannot trust ourselves. So again, the goal of this whole series and starting this whole process with my business is to give you guys the tools you need to feel like you can advocate for yourself, to feel like you have everything that you need, to feel empowered, and to give you the confidence that you can care for yourself and your family. All right, so this is one of my favorite slides right here, because I have heard this over and over again. You can only imagine. With all of the years that I've been coaching, I have heard all of these things. So have you been told the following? You need a statin for your high cholesterol, even if your cholesterol is only a couple of points over 200. You should take this PPI, proton pump inhibitor, for your reflux disease, right? So first of all, a statin can actually make you sick, and cholesterol is very important for hormones, especially as you age. Second of all, reflux isn't a disease, by the way, and it's not from not enough acid. Not too much acid, but from enough. So it's exactly the opposite. Here's two examples of how you've been lied to. Have you been told you need to take Fosamax for bone health, when literally simply lifting weights a couple times a week would be much better for your bones as you age. Your dad had heart disease, so you should eat a low fat diet. Well, eating a low fat diet got people in all kinds of trouble with their hormones because we have to have fat to have healthy hormones. All right. So if we did a timeline of when this low fat diet BS came out, we will start to see a trend where people started to have hormone problems, where menopause started earlier, where men's testosterone was lower and their estrogen was higher, which is very easy to spot. You know, if you're a man and you've got bigger boobs than your wife, you need to be paying attention to your hormones. If you're a woman who is too thin because you're over exercising and you're not cycling anymore, that is a problem. You need to be eating your fat. And these are things we're going to talk more about as we move forward. Have you been told that you'll have this autoimmune condition for life? First of all, no one can determine your fate, right? No one is God and no one is you. But people love to put this little death sentence on us. You're going to have to take this pill for the rest of your life, which is usually not true if you know how to get away from that. You need to move more and eat less to lose weight, which is such an insult and such a slap in the face, especially to women who are being told that they need to be training for marathons or doing CrossFit to get their bodies in shape, when in reality, that's probably not what they need to be doing at all. You need to get your flu shot or your COVID shot so you can be protected. Well, here's the problem with vaccines and shots and toxic chemicals and things like that. It affects your immune system. You know, one of my favorite things to tell people and remind them is 80% of your immune system, if not more, is in your gut. And anything that you eat and anything that stresses you out or causes problems or imbalances to your body is not going to support your immune system, which fights off of off the things that could make you sick. So I could go on, and I'm sure you've heard calories in, calories out, all of those types of things. But here's the beautiful thing. Here's one of the first things you can think of to be empowered. Your body knows exactly what it needs. We just have to get some of this stuff out of the way in the first place. So I want you to keep this in mind and something to think about. You do not have a serotonin reuptake inhibitor deficiency. If you're taking an antidepressant, you don't have a deficiency in that prescription drug. You may have some deficiencies in the neurotransmitters that are affecting your mood, like GABA, dopamine, those types of things, but you don't have a prescription medication deficiency. All right. So keep that in your head, because when anybody ever just writes your prescription, I want you to remember that these symptoms are coming from something. All right, you don't have a gluten deficiency. By the way, they sell Vital gluten. I mean, they sell it separate, you guys, but it's a gluey substance that makes your bread doughy and your donuts donutty and all of that stuff. But you don't have a deficiency of it, and it's highly inflammatory and can cause more health problems than you know what to do with. If you are a person that has Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, or you have just irritable bowel syndrome or disease, I've worked with many, many, many of you, and this particular food ingredient can keep you sick. But a lot of times when you go to the doctor with that problem, they give you a pill to stop the diarrhea so you can just get back up and go to work and keep eating the way you eat. So it means that you need to start living a proactive life. So I think that we could all look at last year, 2020, what I like to call kind of the scamdemic of the century, or of the world rather, is that we saw a lot of people that had not been living proactively. We saw a lot of reactive living where people were scrambling to take care of themselves quickly, to protect themselves. And reactive living doesn't serve you. What it looked like last year was lots of hand sanitizer, lots of fear and worry, reacting to the news that came out in April. And this is what happens when we live reactively. We're literally waiting for something to happen before we change our habits, right? We're using pills and prescriptions as Band-Aids. People who live a reactive lifestyle continue to eat and live the same way while using those pills and prescriptions to cover up the symptoms that they're having because they're unwilling to change. Reactive living people also like to put all of their faith in doctors or people outside of themselves. To move into a proactive lifestyle, you really need to change your mindset so that you can see things differently. I'll tell you a little bit about this food pyramid on the right-hand side in a moment. But what proactive living looks like is following the 7 essentials, the essentials guidelines for health. And these are the guidelines that I created. I'm going to tell you about them at the end of the webinar. I'll go through them because next week's event is going to be about them. Creating a wellness toolbox for your home, which I'm going to share with you guys in a moment. Creating a wellness team for your health. That doesn't mean that you have to go out and find a doctor for your thyroid, a doctor for your bones, a doctor for your brain. A wellness team for your health means having people that you can rely on and depend on to continue to help you to sustain the good health that you have. So maybe that's massage therapy, maybe that's chiropractic work, maybe that's meditation, maybe that's yoga, maybe that's walking, a group of people who walk with you every week. Maybe that's a group of your friends that you have tea, coffee, or wine with on Zoom just to keep in touch with people, whatever that looks like, to add wellness to your life. Proactive living means getting your family on board, but only with boundaries and only at the pace that they're willing to go. You should never try to force somebody into the way that you're living your life. Share the information because you love them and want what's best for them, but don't try to force people into that thought process. When one person starts to move in relationship, the other people move as well. Now, whether they move away or towards a healthier lifestyle, that's going to be up to them. We all need to remember that we're only in charge of ourselves. Proactive living also means learning about familial or genetic health issues and the steps that you can take to prevent those. All right, because remember, this is a famous saying, genetics load the gun and environment pulls the trigger. And we'll get into that in just a moment. But I want you to remember that just because someone in your family had something doesn't mean that you are destined to have that problem as well. So here's one of the first action steps for you to start taking your power back. I encourage all of my families and all the people that I work with to create a wish list, a health wish list. Anything goes, nothing's off limits. So this could be anything from buying organic eggs to replacing the carpet in my house because it's full of bromide, which is toxic to your endocrine system, right? It could be anything from changing out your body products with no chemicals in them to cleaning up your garage of all the toxic ingredients that are used in the yard. It could be just simply wishing that you had enough money to buy humanely raised meat each week. Everything that gets put on that list is a way to just incentivize you to start making changes and reprioritizing. So if you're a fancy pants person out there, likes to get your hair done, likes to get your nails done, likes to shop, loves your designer purses and shoes, and yet you're bringing home boxed food and you can't seem to make time or money to get a massage, or maybe you haven't learned how to use that Instant Pot that's gathering dust, that list hanging on your refrigerator or somewhere where everyone can see it is going to help you to reprioritize the things that you spend your money and your time on. And getting healthier is simple, but it's not always easy. When I say simple, I mean it's simple because the steps you need to take are just to get back to the basics. It's not easy because of what you've been told about health and what we've already talked about with programming, belief systems from your childhood, busy lives, expectations of yourself, etc. You just have to take it one step at a time, get educated and prepared in a way that feels good to you and not in a way that someone else is telling you to. So one myth I like to say, to bring up and talk to people about is that, when people say you need to move more and eat less, that is such a myth. It is really about the quality of the food that goes into your mouth and not about how many miles you stepped or how many steps you took a day. But if you're a baby stepper, that's okay too. So we've got two types of people right now that are out in the world, especially that coaches are working with and that I'm working with. We've got the standard American person who is literally eating almost every meal they have, fast food, or they're not cooking, they don't know how. They're overwhelmed by all of the information out there. Is it keto? Is it paleo? Is it vegetarianism? What do I do? I'll just stay where I'm at because everything else is too complicated, okay? The standard American person, it's an unfortunate acronym, is following the standard American diet, and that is the SAD diet. So that's one way to remember what that is. The other person is the overwhelmed symptom chaser. And that is the person who, like I was, spent all their time, money, and effort trying to figure out what the heck is wrong with their health, trying to do every single thing they can think of. And yet one more thing gets sent to them that is the magic bullet, right? So there's two types of people out there. There's rarely anyone right in the middle. All right. So we all have different places that we're at in our lives, and it's okay for where you are because that's where you are, right? You just have to decide what's best for you when taking these steps forward. Is it a baby toe in the water? Is it a big toe in the water of change? Or are you going to dive head first? I want to give you a caution statement here. If you're a person that's just like, I'm ready to go. I did the whole 30 in January and I'm going to do it again in June. We don't want to do things that are only to reach a short-term goal. In fact, when I was a personal trainer, I had people come to me all the time and say, I got to get in this bathing suit by this time. You have 8 weeks. I used to love that one. You have 8 weeks to shape me up. I'm like, yeah, I'm not taking that responsibility. But what I always told people is this is like, I'm here to teach you a sustainable way to live and how to move through your life, not to reach a quick fix, because that doesn't solve your future health problems that will catch up with you over time. Because remember, health in dis-ease in the body is a cumulative thing. It does not happen overnight. So if you were great last week, but you're not great this week, don't look only at what happened last week. Look at how you've been living your life over time. All right. So why is it important that you flex your freedom muscle? I mean, it couldn't be more important, right? You've got to show them, and I'm talking about the people that are packaging your food and spraying your things with pesticide, your foods with pesticides and putting chemicals in your body products. Show them that they cannot continue to poison you, right? So when you buy packaged toxic food, you are approving it. It's called frankenfood. All right. It's called frankenfood. And I'll talk about that in just a moment. But when you take care of yourself, you depend on the system less and you depend on yourself more. You teach your kids or your grandkids, they have a choice and they have to have a voice about what goes in their body. So we've kind of gotten into this place where we care more about our kids than we care about ourselves. But the example that you're setting to your kids is what they're learning from. So if you're sitting there and telling them, you got to eat every vegetable on your plate, don't forget to drink your milk and eat your green beans, but you're over here, drinking wine for dinner and eating pizza out of a box, or whatever. They're going to take that lesson from what you're doing. Okay. And I'm a walking example here. My mom used to make some of the craziest food. When we talk about it now, we talk about some of the food she used to make us. I would bring my lunches to school and nobody would trade with me because my bread was whole grain, and homemade. It had like sprouts on it. I had homemade yogurt. I mean, I couldn't trade lunches if I paid somebody. But even though I went through that time of my life that contributed to me falling into having autoimmunity, I remembered those things. So what you're teaching your children today will come back into their lives later on. So set that example for them. We are losing our rights daily right now. This is not an opinion. This is not a theory. This is the truth. We are losing our rights daily. So what's going to be happening out in the world? Say you come up with a symptom and you're nervous or confused about it, and you're just want to look it up, and you go out to what they call Dr. Google, and you type in that symptom, and you're just looking for some ideas on how to take care of things at home by yourself. It's very rare you're going to find anything that's not conventional medicine. You're going to get all kinds of things like WebMD and Healthline and all of these sites that are supported by the people that are making you sick. So it's going to be harder to find reliable, good information that you can trust to move forward in a way that doesn't have you going backwards on the food and lifestyle scale. All right. So the more demand there is for junk, the more junk they will create. Just remember that when people stop buying the Roundup to spray the weeds in their garden, they will be forced to stop making so much. We've got to hit them where it hurts. And that is absolutely in their pockets, in their pocketbooks. All right. So here are some of the things that are causing you to feel sick, to toxins causing disease and endocrine disruption. So endocrine disruption, meaning your endocrine system, your thyroid, your adrenal glands, your master metabolic regulator, your pituitary gland, all of those things are really a good barometer for telling you where you are when it comes to your health and wellness, right? So if you wake up and you're absolutely exhausted and you cannot get through your day, your adrenal glands are probably signaling you, we need to slow down. Maybe we should take a nap today. You didn't get the sleep you needed last night. But when you have all of these toxins in your life, the things I'm going to go through here in a moment, those signals can get disrupted and you can find yourself grabbing for a Band-Aid or a magic pill. So again, frankenfoods, those are the things that are just full of toxins, chemical laden, poisonous foods, GMOs, glyphosate sprayed, pesticide laden foods. Body and hair products. I mean, all you got to do is go to your bathroom, pick up a product, turn it around and see if it has phthalates in it. Does it have PEGs in it? Does it have fragrance? Does it have dyes and colors? Yard and garden sprays and products. I mean, I wish I could move into a green neighborhood. I mean, and if I'm honest here, every time I probably take one house to the other, maybe 3 houses in between, I'm seeing a sign, ChemLawn, True Green. And the air is literally so horrible. I try to hold my breath when I walk by those houses. Everything that you breathe and everything that lands on your skin is affecting your health. House cleaning products. Even the things that are sold by some companies that say natural can have toxic ingredients in them. So you have to read every single label, because what you put in your water to wash your floors, what you spray on your counters that goes into the air, or the things that you spray that you may put your food down on later, all of those things have the potential to make you sick. Garage products, oh my gosh, this is an area that I think is so important that people pay attention to. The things in your garage, what are you cleaning with? What are you using out on the yard? What are you using in your car, on your car? Like all of the things. So the garage is not a place to be ignored. So carpet, new car, aerosols, etc. When I found out how toxic carpet was, actual carpet, which has a halide in it called bromide, actually affects your thyroid. I was like, oh my gosh, I put hardwood floors on my health wish list immediately, believe it or not. And like I said earlier, creating a health wish list means that you have no limits. Everything counts. It doesn't matter how much it costs or how long it would take. If it's your dream to have something healthy for you and your family, like hardwood floors, put it on the list. You never know what will come. And yes, I did get hardwood floors throughout my entire upstairs house. So 2,500 square feet, a little bit at a time, but we ended up doing it. So nothing is impossible. Toxic thoughts cause disease. And as we go through these series and I start bringing more information that's outside the box to you guys, I'm going to get deeper into all of these topics. So just remember, these things are done on purpose to keep us sick and dependent on a system, medicine, expensive insurance, all of those things. Stop using the chemicals, stop eating the toxic food, work on your connections and relationship with others, all of those things. You do all of those things, you're going to find yourself not wanting to depend on those things anymore. We must stop all of that with our actions. So one of my favorite things to say, no one knows you better than you know yourself, right? This includes your children. Trust them to tell you what food they like or want within reason. Okay. I mean, obviously they're going to like the cookie better because their body is programmed that way. Their neurotransmitters get a nice big hit of dopamine when they see the cookie. It's a matter of reprogramming them. In all honesty, I mean, I raised my kid to juice. I raised him, on a paleo primal food plan, organically raised foods in the garden. And when he hit teenage years, he got off track a lot earlier than I did, I guess. But I had to trust him to make his own decisions. I educated him. He was reading labels when he was 6, 7 years old about GMOs and all of those things. I would send him around with his little shopping cart and tell him to go pick things that didn't have these words on them. There's ways to bring your children into this that are fun, but you have to start letting your kids tell you what's good for them and what's not. And, it's too often that parents are pushing things on their children when it comes to food, and it's turning them away from the things that they may otherwise enjoy. So our rule around here that has always been in place is just taste it. If you don't like it, you don't have to eat it. I mean, isn't that the crazy? And I'll tell you, that's one of the things when I was little, that was one of the things I always look back and I think, oh my God, how many times I sat there with one cold green bean. And I would sit at that kitchen table and I would not eat that bean unless I was just exhausted of sitting there. And it took me, I don't know how many years to enjoy vegetables, you guys. So let's depend on our kids to trust themselves. Now, remember, I'm saying the secret word throughout this webinar. I'm going to announce it at the end, so don't forget, and I haven't forgotten. So just stay put. We're getting close to the end here, and you're going to win a free health coaching session with me. So key things to remember as you move from dependency to independency and freedom. If you can't pronounce it, you shouldn't eat it. Remember that, right? If you can't pronounce it, you shouldn't eat it. Your grandma probably told you that. If you can't eat it without harm, if you can't eat it without harm, you shouldn't put it on your skin. And yes, that's what I meant to say. If you can't eat it without harming yourself, you shouldn't put it on your skin. You should be able to actually eat your body products for real, because your skin is your largest organ. So what you put on your skin goes right into your bloodstream. Getting sick takes time, and so does getting healthy. It's a marathon, not a sprint, not a race. Okay, it's a marathon. Take your time, give yourself some grace. People were healthier before frankenfood, and here it is, a cornucopia of pesticide-laden monocrops and lab-engineered frankenfoods. Sounds delicious. You have instincts for a reason. I am going to teach you how to get back to listening to those, because as I said before, no one knows you better than you know yourself. But I want to go back to this one for just a moment. Giving yourself grace. As you're moving forward, as long as you're moving forward, and you are heading in the right direction, okay? And even if you stand still some days, or maybe you take one baby step back, You know the direction you need to go, you need to be moving. So giving yourself grace is part of this process. If you get yourself all stressed out about making the right decisions or making a mistake or, drinking too much or eating the wrong food or whatever it is, you're completely disrupting the process of progress. How many toes you put in the water each day is up to you. No one's judgment on you matters but your own. So let's talk about a couple of tools before we wrap up, things that you can get started to use right now. So you may want to get a pen and paper out, but I'm also going to be sending in the replay tips on all of this stuff. You're going to get the replay. You can go back and get access to these as well. But I want you to think about your health toolbox right now. For 1 minute, I want you to think about the things that are in your toolbox. Is it a leave if you get a headache? Is it a purple pill if you feel like you've got heartburn? Is it are you dealing with prescription medications? If maybe you've got some anxiety, you've got some benzodiazepines in that toolbox. What is in your toolbox right now? And I call it your power toolbox because we're going to fill it up with the things that are going to make you feel more powerful. So here's what we can do. Think about how you can be filling it with one thing at a time that makes you feel more powerful. A blood pressure monitor. Why in the world would you want to have one of these at home? This thing can serve a couple of different, a couple of different ways. Number one, if you've been diagnosed with high blood pressure by your doctor, it is highly possible you have white coat hypertension. People who think their doctor is God will usually walk in, see that white coat, and the next thing you know, blood pressure is up, nervousness, maybe you're going in to get labs, maybe your temperature is up. I don't know. Anything can cause your blood pressure to rise. Just walking in the door of a medical facility can do that. So if you're worried about your blood pressure, having this at home when you are under times of stress, maybe you've got heart stuff going on, palpitations, you can simply sit down in a relaxed place and get a real read on your blood pressure. The other thing that you can use this for is checking your adrenal gland status. So the adrenal glands are these little tiny glands that are in your back that sit on top of your kidneys. They're an amazing little messenger for you to tell you, how you're doing with the energy that you've been given in a day. Have you emptied the cup completely and tipped it over? Or are you dealing with good energy and maybe you're just got a lot going on? So you can put this blood pressure monitor on your arm, take your baseline for your blood pressure. And then once it's reset, you're going to be laying down or sitting down. You're going to stand up quickly and you're going to hit that start button again. If those numbers drop instead of rise, your adrenal glands may be struggling. That could be a really simple test that you could do at home to identify any kind of adrenal stress or what some people call adrenal fatigue. Okay, a glucometer. So a glucometer is, I'll just tell you this, I hate needles. So if you're over there going, I will never get one of those. I hate to stick my finger. You can ask my mom. Well, don't ask her right now, but I ran away from the nurse one time when they came at me with a needle. I can't remember what it was for, a vaccine, or they were taking blood. I don't remember, but I have a massive fear of needles to the point of going through 16 hours of labor to avoid an epidural. And I can use this with no problem. Okay. So a glucometer does a couple of things for you. First and foremost, if you have a glucometer, you can test your blood sugar first thing in the morning, fasting, to see what your fasting blood sugar is. You want to be under 100 is what they say, but even better, under 95, under 90, right? Then what you do is you take what's called a postprandial, however you want to pronounce it. 2 hours after you eat, you take it again. Your blood sugar should be dropping, should be going down. So when you eat, your blood sugar goes up, right? And then after 2 hours, that will give you a good indication that you are processing properly, that your insulin's working, everything's working properly, and that number should be dropping. It can also tell you how you're reacting to carbohydrates and specific foods in your meal plans or your food plans. So a glucometer is one of the things that I always have on hand. The most expensive thing about a glucometer are the testing strips. Everything else is like very inexpensive. So your blood pressure cuff is anywhere from $30 to $50, depending on what you get. Glucometer is $25 to $35, something like that. Then you got your thermometer, and everybody's like, oh, well, everyone's got a thermometer. Well, this little thermometer right here was one of the key tools that Broda Barnes used many, 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 many years ago to determine whether or not someone's thyroid was functioning properly. A simple, $6 thermometer was able to give clues about how someone's thyroid was functioning. If your body temperature in the morning before you literally roll over in bed is below, I think it's 98.0 or 97.9, 98.0 is as low as people want to be, then you might have an underfunctioning thyroid. People don't just run cold. I've heard that before. Oh, I run cold. 94 and 95 is normal for me. No, it is not. Okay. That is not. That is indicative of metabolic, something going on with your metabolism, metabolic disease, something's going on there. Usually not a serious thing, but it's a thyroid. Your thyroid, again, is a messenger saying, hey, we're under stress here. Something's going on. We're going to drop the temperature into survival a little bit here. It's up to you to use these tools to figure out exactly what that is. Then I'm sure if you have been paying attention in 2020 at all, they've been, you've heard about oxygen in the blood, oxygenation of the blood, saturation in the blood, a pulse oximeter. You can buy one of these of your own and just check and make sure that you are staying within the limits that are healthy for you. I think this one is $15, something like that. So literally under, I would say under $100, and you can have all of these tools at home. They can help you. Again, this is another thing that they put on your finger at the doctor too. But you have all of these things at home and you're able to just kind of put them in a little container, have them there, and be able to have a better pulse on your own health. But if you want to take it further and you really want to go down the rabbit hole of really taking back your power, do you know that you can order your own labs? Now, if you're in New Jersey or New York, it's going to be really hard for you, or you're in another country. I'm talking about the United States that isn't restricted. You have the opportunity to order your own labs. I'm going to share some links with you guys at the end of this that you can go out and check out. There's nothing more powerful than being able to order what you want and what you want to see, and then being able to get those labs right back into your hands. Now, when you go to a conventional medical doctor, let's say you're going in because you've got some thyroid stuff going on, and they want to run a test on you. The test they're going to run on you is the TSH test, thyroid stimulating hormone. And I'm going to go into an in-depth thyroid training with you guys at some point. But that test is simply just a messenger from the pituitary to the thyroid. It's not really telling you what's going on with your metabolic health. You need extended labs for that. And a lot of the times, I would say majority of the time, doctors aren't going to order those because they may get stuck, so-called, with the bill from insurance, or they think they might. But you can get anything that you want. You can order any lab that you want, pretty much anything from gut health to hormones to thyroid. And it can be done at lesser cost in some cases than what you would pay through insurance. So this is a really powerful one. And I am bringing Dr. Alan Hopkins to you guys. That is on Wednesday, March the 17th. And he's going to walk you through this amazing platform of his that I'm sharing the link to. And he's going to teach you the why, what, when, how of labs, why they're important, where you can get them, how you can use them, all of that good stuff. You don't want to miss that event. And then you can interpret your own. Now, I'm going to tell you how you can interpret your own in just a moment. But when you are looking at labs, I know that they can be overwhelming, right? They can make you feel like you have no clue what's going on. All of these numbers and ranges are so scary. And what if there's a red number on there? There's a very simple way. I'll share a link with you on that as well, on how you can take those labs and you can drop them right into an analyzer. And that analyzer tells you what those labs mean. And I'll tell you what, the things that conventional medicine say are out of the normal range are not necessarily out of the normal range. There are functional lab ranges and there are conventional lab ranges in many, many cases. So even like I got my cholesterol labs back last week and it said high. The number was 202 and it had a red flag for high. But my triglycerides were like 50 something and my high, not my high, but my healthy cholesterol was in the 80s. And when you are looking at those two ratios right there, I mean, it couldn't get more perfect than that. The HDL always wants to go up and the triglycerides want to go down. And that's an indication of good, healthy cholesterol. But they flagged me as having unhealthy high numbers. So thank God I know how to look at that. I use a lab test analyzer. I also do my own work. So I learned more about that. You can also hire a board certified health coach. So I want to stop here for a moment. And it's not just because I'm a health coach, but I think it's really important that people understand that a doctor or a chiropractor or a practitioner are not the only people that are out there that can support your journey. There are health coaches that they are so affordable. They are so knowledgeable. They have a vast, vast knowledge, a knowledge base. They know so much information about every single thing you can possibly imagine. And they specialize in specific things. So if you wanted to hire a health coach for one session for an hour, just to look at what you're eating and tell you how you can get back on track, or maybe you need someone to hold your hand for 3 months and help you get inflammation under control. There are so many options. They're all over the world. They're everywhere. So you want to look for, a health coach that fits your needs. And we have board certified health coaches that are out there just for that. I will be sharing replay links with you guys where you can go out and see how many health coaches are out there, what they have to offer, what they specialize in, all of the things that they have to offer to you. Health coaches are moving into the mainstream, and they are moving into it quickly because we have a lot of shoes to fill. We have lost a lot of our functional influencers. A lot of our functional practitioners have shown up to be pushing unhealthy immune suppressing protocols and processes that are no longer something that we believe in as health coaches. So never underestimate the power of a health coach. Here's the other thing. Stop Googling health symptoms and diseases. Okay. Stop Googling solutions, move into a different search engine, because Google is part of this narrative and they're going to promote nothing but mainstream solutions. So you can go to DuckDuckGo, you can use Brave, you can go to Start Page, etc. All right. So I will share a link where you can go out, and it'll be in the replay, to see what search engines are available to you out there to start using, so you can move away from all of these mainstream ideas and the dumping of information that they're going to do on you. So next week's event is the 7 essentials. I'm going to start by talking about the 7 essentials. I'm not going to be doing slide decks that often because this is time consuming, and I'd really rather just fill your time with value. Some of these meetings we do are going to be 30 minutes. Some of them are going to be an hour, but they're always going to be for you, to get your questions answered, to empower you, to give you the tools that you need to answer the challenges that you're dealing with. So real quick, when I talk about the 7 essentials, we're talking about the 7 basic things that every human being needs. Okay. And this isn't trendy diets. This isn't some brand new exercise process, right? We're talking about simple things like whole food, food that looks like what it is, safe movement, movement that is safe for your body in the health condition that you're in right now. Remember, I'm 50 years old. I am not going to be exercising like I did in my 20s, or even last in the beginning of my 40s. Okay. It's not good for our bodies to stay with the same mindset. Sleep optimization, very, very important. We have to repair our bodies, which means we have to sleep. I already did safe movement. I didn't mean to put that one on there. That should be stress perception. Stress perception. I'm gonna have to change this slide deck. So stress perception means seeing stress differently and not necessarily reducing or managing it, which I think is super stressful. When someone tells me to manage my stress, I'm like, are you kidding me right now? What else can I possibly do differently? Spirituality, if you don't have a higher power, then you think you're a man, island of yourself, and that you've got this whole thing nailed. You don't. There is a higher power in charge of all of us. Now, whether that's science for you or God for you or whatever that is, we are not here to be on our own. So spirituality is super important. Addressing old traumas. Traumas can be something that happened to us when we were in utero, and our mother was carrying us. That is how early trauma starts. It impresses on your DNA from as early as conception. So if you're saying, well, I didn't go through anything, my childhood was fantastic. First of all, congratulations to you, because that's rare. Most of us have dealt with some dysfunction and are even creating it in our lives for our children today. We're human beings. We're not perfect, right? And then the last thing here is fun. Okay. Adults are not having enough fun. Plain and simple, adults are not having enough fun. And I guess I didn't realize how little fun I was having till about 5 years ago, when I realized, gosh, there is nothing in my life that brings me lighthearted joy. And so, the 7 essentials were added to the Institute for Functional Health Coaching as a foundation for helping people to get back to the basics. So what this means is, you don't have to go out and do an elimination diet, right? You don't have to go out and train for a marathon. You don't have to, do a biohacking thing on your sleep where you're wearing some weird thing that tracks your sleep movement. You don't have to be, meditating every day for an hour. You don't have to be going to such extremes. You simply have to take baby steps forward in your health in ways that feel good to you, and ways that you are managing it where it doesn't stress you out further. So the goal, you guys, is to not be stressed out financially, emotionally, physically, or mentally while making these changes. And the only one that can determine how that goes is you. So if you want to find more about me, and I'm going to grab these links in just a moment here and plug them into the chat when I get out of the screen, find out more about me, you can find this logo. I can't use my cursor on that page. I don't know why, but the Carmen Hunter Health on the Mighty Networks channel. You can find me there. And what we're doing there is we're bringing the general public and coaches and all of us together so that we can share ideas. We can empower each other. We can come up with solutions and have conversations that are real, like we're having today, right? There's not going to be anybody pushing things on you. We're here to support the general public. Coaches are here to give you guys some hope in your health and to give you tools that can help move you forward. And I will be sharing all of this stuff again, you guys, in the replay. So seeking and speaking your inner truth. If you're a seeker and speaker of truth like I am, and you know what the big agenda is out there in the world today, you can come on over there with me and my partner, Diane Kaiser, where we're getting very, very real about the things that are happening and where all of these things are coming from. We're talking about the global elite. We're talking about what's coming with food shortages, all of that stuff. So those are the places that you can come. So come to Carmen Hunter Health for information about health and wellness and food and all of those good things, trauma, all the 7 essentials that I just talked to you about, and then seeking and speaking your inner truth. But most of all, if you really want to know who I am and what I'm about, go to carmenhunterhealth.com. That is my main website. We are revamping and moving things around, trying to make everything easier for people. So we appreciate the patience that you're giving to us while we do that. But first and foremost, I always just like to end with a big thank you, because there's so many different places that you could have spent your time today. And I am always grateful for when people come in and spend their time with me and share their stories and their questions with me. So with that said, I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to get back on my main screen and turn on my video, and I'm going to go to the Q&A. Hold on. See, I'm still a real person. That wasn't a recording. And I'm going to look at the chat here. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to give you the power word in just a second. Let me answer questions and then we'll get the power word. So the power word is power. It goes in the chat. Who types it first gets the health coaching session. Yeah, there we go. So what are your thoughts on intermittent fasting? All right. So the word was power. Whoever typed it in first wins. $350 health coaching session. All you have to do, whoever did it, I will, I'll find out the winner, but, and we'll send out the replay. You got to watch for the replay. I will announce the winner, and then I will tell you what to do to get that session. But let's go into the questions real quick, because there was only a couple of them. What are your thoughts on intermittent fasting? Natalie's asking. So here's the thing, just like any kind of food idea or food belief or whatever it is, just like anything, everybody's different. I think that intermittent fasting can be super powerful to get the body to start to repair itself, to give it a break, all of those things, right? But it's also not for everyone. So I can't tell you who it's for and who it's not for, only you can make that decision. But I can tell you there's several different ways to fast. You can do short fasts, anywhere from, 8 to 10 hours. You can do anything from 10 to 16 hours. You can go a week, whatever it may be. But I want people to understand one thing, that we're meant to eat food. I can't even believe that there's such a thing as a breatharian out there, by the way. That's true. Breatharians believe they can live on air. Don't even get me going on that. But there are specific things that our bodies need to be healthy. And when we don't have those things for too long, it will directly impact our health negatively, right? That's why I'm not a fan of just getting rid of all food types. Now, if it is whole food, we should be able to eat it, right? We should be able to eat it. But in today's world, when we're full of toxins and our enzymes aren't working properly and things are just a mess, we may need some support with enzymes and things like that. So a rule of thumb on intermittent fasting is start, in my opinion, okay, it's just my opinion, not a diagnostic prescriptive thing. Start with a short amount of time, gauge your energy levels, see how you're feeling, and then extend it a little bit each day. So maybe you start with 8 hours and you're like, whoa, I'm feeling a little bit low on blood sugar this morning. I think I probably should eat something. Okay, then that might be too long. Then maybe if you're like, hey, I feel great, I'm just going to wait until I actually feel hungry before I eat. But maybe you get busy with your day and then 14 hours passes and you get that lightheaded feeling, or maybe your stomach's making racket and you're like, whoa, I probably should have eaten 2 hours ago. Intermittent fasting is powerful. I believe that it is very useful and helpful. Sometimes it needs to be medically supervised, but I think it's a good thing overall, as long as you're trusting yourself and paying attention to your body. Tiffany says, since having my thyroid removed due to cancer, my normal body temperature is below 98 most of the time. Is this a new normal because I no longer have a thyroid, or should that be looked into more closely? This is a great question, Tiffany. So here's the deal. It's not, when somebody loses their thyroid, has a thyroidectomy, and first of all, I'm sorry that happened, but I'm glad that you're here and I hope that you're cancer free. When somebody loses their thyroid, and it's, they say, well, you have no thyroid tissue left whatsoever, nothing at all. That's not necessarily true, because in order to take out the entire thyroid, all of the tissue, it would be very, very close intimately close, unfortunately, and could damage your vocal cords, could damage other things in your body. So when they say it's all completely gone, you have no thyroid activity or hormone at all, any little bit of tissue that's left in there is going to be recognized by the body as thyroid tissue, which means maybe there's a tiny hair of a chance that it could be producing some of the free the thyroid hormone T4. And I'm not going to get geeky on this right now, too geeky on this, because I don't want to lose people, because this is an important question, since autoimmune Hashimoto's and thyroid disease are the top immune diseases in the world. But I want to say this: if you are under the temperature of 98, then your medication is probably not working appropriately to get you back into that metabolic rate of 98.6 or 98 and above, right? 98.6 is ideal. That is our internal body temperature. So I would be looking at medications. And let's just stay here for just a second in case this is helpful to somebody else out there with thyroid problems. And let me just first and foremost say this: my end diagnosis after the 10 years and 21 doctors was Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Had anybody ever been remotely clued in to what that meant for me way early in the process, I probably could have avoided all of the things. I know I could have avoided all of the things that I went through, but then I could have avoided all of the medications and the supplements and the protocols and all the things that I tried in order to reverse it. But as it stood, I went 10 years with no diagnosis, which means that my thyroid, which you guys, your thyroid's right here, ended up with nodules and marbleization, which is damage. Now, I don't like to say permanent on anything. I don't like to say permanent damage on anything, but it ended up with some damage, which meant that I had to go through the process of getting medications and prescriptions to try to figure out how I could get my life back. So I would be talking to them about doing a free T4 and a free T3 test alongside your TSH, and then also a TPO antibody test. Okay. So we want to know if, have you moved into Hashimoto's? Do you have Hashimoto's? There's lots of questions to go along with that, but 98 or below is not a normal body temperature. So that's kind of the long answer for the short question. And that, again, I wrote a whole ebook on the thyroid, and I've done a training that's over 4 hours long on the thyroid because it is such a complex topic. All right, so I'm going to look in the chat and just, we're wrapping up here. I'm going to start dropping in some links for you guys. But I want to encourage you, if you have any questions at all right now, just put them in the Q&A, and let me grab some links for you guys to go out there and start to grab hold of some of this stuff. You guys, hold on a moment. And these are super powerful things that you guys can use to fill your toolbox. So hold on a moment. Let's see if this is going to actually let me. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. All right. So my website, grab it. All right. I'm just going to do this. Hold on a moment. I'll make sure everybody can see everything here. Carmen Hunter Health. There you go. And I am going to share the lab work, and you guys get a discount if you sign up with the lab test analyzer or any of those things, you guys. Those are specific links for you guys. So I'm dropping them in right now. So go ahead and grab them, because I'm going to go ahead and wrap up in just a moment. And you can find me in these links. Let's see here, copy. I've never gone back to a slideshow and gone into the Zoom like this. I usually have them ready. So go ahead and grab them. Come out and join the community. And then here's this last one, is where if you put in the code Carmen20 on Lab Test Analyzer, they will give you 20% off, which is really generous for the month of March. So I'll just type that in here, Carmen20 for the lab test. I'm sorry, self-decode. So the Carmen20 is for the last link that I just sent to you guys. So self-decode uses that, and that'll give you a 20% off. So next week, we're going through the 7 essentials. I'm going to give you tips on every single one of those things that can help you to take things further with your health. Then the following week, I am going to be bringing Dr. Alan Hopkins in. He's an ER doctor with a functional mindset. And he's going to walk us through the platform of labs and help you guys to understand labs, when they're important, why they're important, what would be the most important way to get a good general foundation for your health, and kind of show you how to work that platform as well. All right, so I hope this was helpful, you guys. Watch for the replay. I'm going to send all these links again in the replay. And then always feel welcome to reach out to my personal email at carmenhunter@protonmail.com. That's the mail I've been using to get away from Gmail. if you just have any questions that you want to share with me that I can bring into these events. I won't be able to reply individually to each one, but I'm going to use those to educate the general public, because if you have a question, you can pretty much be guaranteed that other people want to learn about that stuff as well. And it's important that we are connecting with each other. We are sharing this information as a group, as a unity of people that are trying to get our freedom back. So I appreciate you being here. Let me check one more time. There's one more question. Cheryl, what do you think? What do you think a diagnosis of high cholesterol with lipoprotein little a? I told it was familial hypercholesterolemia. Okay, so Cheryl, I did an interview with Jimmy Moore. Gosh, when did we do that interview? It's been a couple months now. I encourage you to get the book Cholesterol Clarity by Jimmy Moore. It is a fantastic, fantastic book, which answers every single thing that you need to know from an expert who has, I mean, board certified, triple board certified doctors. This guy did, I mean, he spent so much time on that. So Cholesterol Clarity by Jimmy Moore is going to go into all of the details about this. The gold standard for looking at what's going on with your heart is actually a heart scan, though. So blood work, I would not look at blood work as an indicator for your overall cholesterol. If you have a higher number or something looks a little off, you look at your triglycerides, you look at your HDL, and then you get a heart scan, which is really simple to do. But go out and grab that book, Cheryl. I promise you, it is going to be one of the best resources you've ever had. And Marie says, what are some common problems leading to hypertension besides overweight, too much sodium in food? Actually, she's sodium sensitive to make blood pressure go up. Some common problems leading to hypertension, overweight, too much. Well, stress, for one. Stress is the number one thing that I would look at for blood pressure, and why it goes up. And here's one of the things: we don't want to think about just stress as something that, you know, is financial or relationship related, or you know, maybe you're running late for something like that, or something like that. The body, you know, the body's under stress if it's sick. The body's under stress if the thoughts are sick, and telling the body to produce a specific symptom or something like that. So I would look at how, whoever you're talking about here, whoever's sodium sensitive, that's obviously going to be one thing that can make blood pressure go up. But I would also look at the stress of the body and the stress of the mind on the body. That's the first place that I go with blood pressure. And then I would get a blood pressure cuff, and I would, if you don't already have one, Marie, I would go there and I would try to get a baseline of that, and see, is there a pattern? You know, is the blood pressure can actually go up from food that the body is intolerant of? Maybe she's on a medication that causes this. Maybe there is a time where she feels more stress, you know. So get the blood pressure cuff. You can actually track those types of things and create a pattern. And I'll tell you one thing I forgot to put on the tool for the toolbox. It's just a calendar, you guys, a simple calendar like this that you can write in, where you can start to track your changes. So maybe you start on, you know, Monday, the 22nd, I'm going to take gluten out of my food plan. You write down, remove gluten, and then you start tracking, you know, where things started to change. Maybe Tuesday you were grouchy, and maybe Wednesday you had diarrhea, and maybe Thursday you were tired, but maybe by Saturday you started to feel better. You can look back over that week with one change at a time. It's easy to track back what's working and what's not. You make too many changes, and then you know, you're up for a lot of confusion. So definitely, you know, get a calendar so you can track those things. All right. Thanks everybody for listening. I appreciate you being here. If you're a health coach and you're interested in being a part of this movement that we are doing, come to the Health Coach Mentorship and Mastery group. You can find that on my website. For everyone else, please register for all of the events that we have going on carmenhunterhealth.com. Go to the events tab up there, where I'm going to be bringing lots of valuable information, straight talk about the truth of food, health, and wellness, and how to get your power back. So thanks a lot for being here. Thanks for all the comments and the questions. And I will see you guys next Wednesday. Thanks again.